Earlier this year, I did a preview for an adventure game called Type Noise Shonen Shojo, a Japanese adventure game released over there as Zatsu Onke Boy Meets Girl. I went in curious, but not exactly hyped. More in that sort of prove it to me headspace than anything else. Developed by DankHearts, a studio that's primarily assisted on discontinued mobile games, Type Noise marks both their first English release and their first PC game release. That alone made me more interested than I expected. It's pitched as an escape room adventure with a strong hook, and whilst I wasn't the most enthusiastic going in, I think the game managed to turn it around once the mechanics and story started talking to each other. There's a specific intent behind how it reveals information, and that intent does a lot of the heavy lifting. Type Noise Shonen Shojo opens up with our leads Zina Yuga Mizori and Soto Ochibana waking up in a strange sewer, a little light on memories and a lot heavy on immediate danger. The more pressing matter is that the sewer area seems entirely closed and water is slowly filling it. Their only chance of survival is that this also appears to be a sort of mystical escape route they can solve their way out of. When they escape, you find out you're stuck in some sort of distorted Shibuya with a bunch of other mostly high schoolers in the same boat. Streets feel a bit off, landmarks don't sit right, and every corner looks like a memory that got bent. You also get introduced to the mascot character, a 3D hologram cat named Spectre. This is a little bastard who knows all about whatever's going on here and promptly tells you only the bare minimum, which could have been an email if you didn't figure it out already. He's a needling presence more than a guide, and that's the point, but he also has far less screen time than expected, so that makes him much more bearable. It was around this time my interest fell through the floor. Besides a mascot character that hadn't yet justified its existence, the game then kills off his lead heroine, who is also the face of the game's key art. We'll come back to why this isn't bad overall, but the female-to-male protagonist switch is just kind of cruel bait because it doesn't actually add anything to the experience besides annoyance. We could have just been Soto to start, and it would have been more consistent. It feels like a fake-out that exists to shock you rather than to serve the story you're about to play. From here, you'll navigate your way around the mysterious alternate town whilst looking for ways to trigger the memories of the group, and then run smack dab into escape room puzzles. This loop is the backbone. You talk, you explore, you hit a space that locks you in with a problem, and then you solve your way back to fresh air. Their rhythm is satisfying once it settles, and it gives the cast room to breathe in between much more intense sequences. Controls are your standard point-and-click fare. Selecting items in the background will have characters comment on them, and if it's anything usable, it'll be added to your inventory. Sometimes you'll be able to combine items to make new things for different puzzle parts. The first puzzle uses the classic make a screwdriver progression block, which always amuses me because it's such a reliable that's what you want moment. The game will tell you when you can craft something relevant with a diamond icon on the UI denoting the inventory. There's also a button that lets you scan the environment to see all major clickables, generally reducing the chance of pixel hunting. There's a factor I really enjoy that sets these puzzles far apart from other trapped in a room games. Each of the puzzle rooms isn't a literal escape room carefully set up by a bunch of staff members. Instead, they each have a supernatural bent. Each puzzle room has a somewhat dreamlike environment and corresponds to a particular cast member, full of their history and hang-ups. The space looks like a place, but it acts like a memory, which is a smart way to make the act of clicking feel like you're actually digging into someone's head. When you examine enough things, you'll acquire a noise fragment. These fragments are connected to some aspect of the character's history, and when you have enough, you can solve a jigsaw puzzle minigame to put the fragments back together. This will unlock a flashback. These flashbacks will inform you, Soto, and that respective character of their history, and they'll start remembering things. Unfortunately, everyone seems to have traumatic backstories they don't all necessarily want to remember, but if they want to escape, they'll have to confront those feelings, regrets, and their history. The way the fragments pace out these reveals makes even small solves feel like steps towards something bigger than just a door opening. There are a few choices in the game, as well as individual endings per character, but you can easily jump around on the flowchart to unlock them all. It's painless and encouraging seeing how a scene reframes itself when you arrive from a different angle. This makes for a compelling integration of story and gameplay which more than made up for the lackluster beginning. The structure respects your time and your curiosity, which is exactly what this kind of narrative puzzle game needs to do. Each puzzle has some quite inspired mechanics to them, too. That supernatural bent doesn't just lead to a bedroom in the middle of an arcade or a classroom with some strange props. It also leads to wildly varied styles of puzzle room, some with mini-games that pay homage to other adventure games, such as the root letter-inspired progression in the hospital ward, or that part within the student council room that makes you play Ace Attorney. And beyond that, you've got ones where you travel by train to different locations, or spot a drug deal through contradictory witness testimony, or play video games where a character has to stab figures that resemble their loved ones. There's even a Danganronpa-inspired verbal debate minigame where you make dramatic retorts and heavy arguments called Inevitable Dialogue. It rules! When the game leans into this variety, it shows how flexible its core idea is. There's no shortage of variety to be found, mechanically or aesthetically. Each character has their own theme too, which I really like because they all share a couple of musical motifs but are rendered entirely differently. It's a really cute detail from someone with a very specific direction about how they want this game to go. You can hear a through line and still feel like each chapter belongs to a different person, which helps those flashbacks hit harder later. The biggest core issue I have with the game is that player character switch. Why does Xena get her own special menu UI when she's killed off before the opening even plays, despite having a very strong presence in said opening? Now, it's not as bad a twist as you'd think, and that's because of the noise fragments. They're all listed in a menu you can access at any time, and sorted by character, along with a section for Xena. And this is all before you even really know what they are, so it's a foregone conclusion that she will return. The game basically tells you she matters too much to be permanently gone, which softens the blow, but also exposes the trick. It doesn't justify the switch though. If she at least got to take the reins again, even temporarily, it would feel much more justified, but instead it feels like I'm being lied to for no reason. It doesn't even mean Xena is wasted potential either. She's a very compelling character with an interesting backstory. It feels like there was room to give her some really conclusive bookends and emphasize her importance if she, for example, got to take point during the home office puzzle room. Entering that puzzle and finding out Soto was still the lead felt bad, and it wouldn't have been if I wasn't essentially lied to at the beginning. The choice undercuts the opening's impact in a way that later Payoff doesn't fully repair. Once you're through that issue though, it isn't just smooth sailing. It's a roller coaster of putting facts together until you can make the whole picture that is this game. The finale leaves no stone unturned, and I was hollering during the final puzzles as I figured out exactly what they were doing. It's not even really hard to figure out where they're going. You're supposed to even. The question is just about how they arrive. That's what's the satisfying part here. There was actually one other point of issue, which was the game's translation. It had some real problems, especially in how the narration was handled. Except you'll notice I'm speaking in past tense. The game was updated with an overhaul of the English translation, which went live whilst I was writing this review, so I had to go back and reread the game. Not every line is suddenly perfect, but the difference is obvious. I cannot stress how huge this update was. The game reads so much better now, and it removes my biggest qualm with the experience. The director, Mew, has shown they're listening intently to feedback to see how they can improve the title, and this proves it. There's no dub at all, if that concerns you, but it never concerned me. Tight Noise Shonen Shojo is an incredibly interesting adventure game. When I was playing through initially, it felt like an inspired design buckling under the translation quality, but with that update, the limiter is off. What's left is a game that delivers a unique puzzle-solving experience that's entwined with its narrative in a compelling way. I still think the early protagonist fake-out is a misstep that adds friction without real payoff, and Spectre will great during his couple of scenes until he earns his keep, but the core of exploring, gathering fragments, and assembling a person's past inside a room that mirrors their headspace works. That's what stuck with me. Noisy Pixel is giving Type Noise Shonen Shojo an 8 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching Noisy Pixels Group, dedicated to bringing you guys the best news, views, previews, and more. Please stick around and subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't already to stay up to date on all of our future content. And be sure to check out our Patreon and also the Noisy Pixel News Week, because we have that back now. Have fun. Yeah.
Noisy Pixel.